is no place like I know home. There is no place like home. Home is where the heart is. Home is where the heart is. Home is where the heart is. A man who no longer needs his memory. There is no place like home. 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 There is no place like home.
The drive to make art is in part a pressing need to solve philosophical problems. The puzzles of time, space, and personal identity are linked with questions about how the world functions and how the artist should function within it to produce the motivation to make art. Its content is the search to find the answers. Cincinnati artist Vicki Mansour has adopted this kind of problem-solving technique. For Mansour, the ongoing spiritual nature of things transcends their physical boundaries in time and space.
I guess I will just have to go home. Something. I guess I will just have to go home. Home is where the heart is. Home. There is no place like home. The antelope roam where nothing is heard, not a discouraging word. Rest their tails behind them. There is no place like home. There is no place like home. If you want to see where the mirror. If you want mirror, round and round she goes. As the world turns, she goes. Someday, as she adds black hole.
These records of Mansour's past thoughts, bundled up and gessoed over, but not discarded, are a powerful metaphor for the progress her art has brought her. Lying in her studio, looking like white chrysalises, these resting forms of her old thoughts wait to be used in new ways.
No place. It is warm and bare. Australia is no place home. There is no place like 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 home. Is strength in which I trust. Home is strength in which I trust. There is no place. The heart is home, or whether the heart is home, or whether or not. Think you can forget if the weather is raining. Think you can forget if your thumbprints are all the world upside down. Around the world, see is real all down. Invisible is real upside down. And the town in Africa, home again, and the town, home again, J. There is no place like the black. There is no place like. Then we have the black hole. Land. There is no home. No land. Wanted to make these sculptures of the brain, and I was thinking about how memory is stored in the brain and how big your thoughts were if they were physical. And so I started making these things that I call memory wads. And so I just tear them up and paper mache them around oil crayons. And I have about 400 now, and I've been doing them for about 3 years. So I just go back from like different days and put on another layer.
they recent journals?
These are the older ones. I usually keep the journals for a couple years. Sometimes I read the journals if it's been like the last month. And sometimes there are things I want to look up, and I keep two different kinds of journals. I keep personal or just sort of my personal journals, and then I keep my art journals. And I usually tear up the personal journals because I have no need to read all that stuff again and again. I'm covering this with ebony pencil. And the large table with the globe on it, I covered for 1 year. I covered all the surfaces underneath for 1 year. And I covered the camel. And I covered the wires. Sometimes I think of the wires like a 9-hour line drawing. Some wire takes 9 hours. And I covered the side of that wall over there. And I covered the fan blades. And I have a book I covered. And I also use, I save all the points that break off the pencils. And all the shavings that were near the globe are left over from the process. And I use the pencils. So I use the pencils and the shavings and the tips and the drawing, all as part of the installations. And I would draw, say, for a period of 5 minutes, which these marks would stop every 5 minutes, and I would record just something from my process. Now, it might be something I was thinking about, a fight I had somebody with down the street, or it might be something about my idea about the drawing, or something I hear down there. Whatever happened at 5 minutes, whatever happened to be in my conscious at that time, I would just record in these columns. And I sort of thought I had some friends that were making records at the time, and I sort of thought of these as records and cutting a line, making a connection with cutting into a record and recording the thought. And I also did I don't know where it is, I did a jacket for a record cover that was a spiral drawing like this. So, in this sense, you measure time. Time measures your experience. You have an idea at the beginning, and then time is somewhere invisible in between, and then you have the result or the manifestation. Like, I have an idea that I want to make these walls or a room. That's the first idea, and then what happens is there's time in between that it takes to make it, and sometimes I like to include references to the time that it took to make the piece.
Through all of Mansour's work runs a rich physical iconography. In her need to advance her understanding of herself, Mansour chose graphite as her medium. Graphite conducts current and is used as a lubricant. For Mansour, it carries the charge of her anxiety and eases the meshing of the internal gears which drive her working hand.
I don't like the direction you are going to, trapping you in the net, in my net. The angel was circulating, flapping her wings round and round like a big fan. It was 2 o'clock now. Fly, swim, blowing oxygen in and out, divided into 2 tubes. She feels as though it is too hard to get air. The blue waters broke. Breathe in, breathe out, in and out, pant shallow and fast. His head came surging from the murky waters around the world, crushing. The room collapses yet appears to expand. People told her to wait. They told me to. I remember. I can't decide to play in or out. Okay, go. Swim. No. Are you getting enough air? Is that it?
layers of thought solidifying into a lump. Time collapses, relapses, and he reminds her that a map is not the territory. 1, 2, 3, 4. In wallpapered lungs, I am the swimmer. A cold fish out of water. This is my home, purified and whitewashed. Polishing the furniture, she waits. Polishing the furniture, she does the same thing over and over. I can almost see myself in the surface. Were you humiliated when they asked you to clean houses for a living? He tells her, and you will no longer have an excuse to stay home after the delivery. But what are you thinking of today, in and day out, in and out, inhale, exhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Hail Mary, full of grace, in a hole. Clear fluid in whitewashed lungs circulate, and God breathed life into man, and she fights to keep it liquid against the flow of gravity. And entropy cannot hold you back now. Every time I try to leave this place, my keys evaporate. They were holding her legs together. Indecision insists upon incision. All we need now is an out. Holding her legs together, holding her breath together. Angrily, she turns inside out upon them, upon herself, and upon me. He hadn't come yet, and I continue to bang my head on this wall, in or out. Was that it? A needle was inserted to stop the bleeding. His daddy said his head looked like a big blue prune. Connections were severed, and then they slept. Into an aquarium, I dropped a small red fish. Then I dreamed of swimming and the fear of sharks. Are you coming in or out? As she slipped out, she realized that outside is really just a big inside, and there is no way out. Mommy? Mommy? How did I get in there? Did you eat me? Did I come out your penis? Hey, Daddy, babies come out your butthole. And a woman asked, how long will you keep painting your birth again and again and again and again and again? His words resonate, and you will no longer have an excuse to stay home. But how long do you live in this same house? How long is the color of bloodlines kept blue? The labor is long, and the yellow marks are the mark of the hour. The doctor has patience. The doctor is patient. The patient has impatience. But the doctor says her patience is more than his. We are moving very slowly, he said. It will take a long time. She sighs. Yes, at the pace of Darwin, waiting for a quantum leap. She polishes the furniture.